Okay, so it being on or about 7 o'clock on May 5th, 2020, I bring this hearing, this meeting of the Easton Conservation Commission to order. Please note, due to the emergency order from Governor Baker, limited gatherings and maximizing social distancing, legislation was passed to address remote board meetings, and under that declaration, this meeting will be conducted by Zoom. Attendance by the board and commission will be remote, and remote attendance shall count towards quorum. Anybody who wants to attend can access the meeting through the URL on the upper left-hand side of the agenda. And normally we're only having one item tonight, but normally everyone would have an opportunity to present and take control of the hearing, but that's not true tonight. And there's some other things that I normally would go through tonight that I'm going to bypass just for the record. But just remember that any reminder, any materials, commissioner, applicant, or member of the public presents in the public hearing that is not already part of the permit record should be provided by email to the principal clerk and agent following the meeting, so it can be retained as part of the public record. Before we start, also just one other thing here. Please note that on April 6, 2020, the commission delegated signature authority to Andrea Langhauser, environmental planner, assistant planning director, for all decisions issued during the duration of the emergency. Just before we start, we need to take a roll call. It's something that we're sort of making sure that we do here to have everybody properly identify themselves and establish a quorum. So I'll go first. Rory Caulfels.
Carolyn Dean.
Just
Mike Spadia.
And our newest commissioner.
And Carol.
Welcome, Ben.
So before we get started, I do want to welcome Ben. Ben was just appointed on Monday evening by the select board, and I guess he must have been sworn in today. So congratulations, Ben, and looking forward to having you on the commission.
Thank you. For clarification, I have not been sworn in yet, so okay. I'm not sure if I count for roll call, but it's great to meet all of you. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, then he doesn't count towards roll call. So tonight we are here for 91 Summer Street. This is a notice of intent for construction of a driveway. We closed the hearing at our last meeting on this subject on April 20th. At that time we had received all the materials that was being presented, and we asked the applicant to modify plans and provide additional information so that we could then deliberate on them tonight. So I believe that, this really is two-pronged. It is for the construction of the driveway, but also for the restoration for the unintended damage created by their machine going into the property. So as I understand it, as I recall from my own notes, so we asked them to beef up the mitigation around the portion of the driveway that goes through the 50-foot no disturb zone, to expand the restoration that was adjacent to it all the way to the area up to the split rail fence. That, as I understand it, has been, those plans have been presented. So I think that the other thing was they were putting stormwater infiltration trench on the adjacent to the proposed driveway to handle any stormwater runoff, and also an operation and maintenance plan for that trench as well was submitted, and proposed snow storage areas have been added to the plan as requested. I think there were other conditions related to no road salts as well, which will condition as well. So does anybody want me to bring up plans? You tell me what you need from me.
I think the plans that were revised April 28th, there's just to verify that what you recalled to be conditions of the deliberation were all incorporated into that plan. If anybody hasn't seen it, I can answer any questions you might have about it.
So I'll bring up the NOI plan and the restoration plan, and then we'll go from there. How about that?
Great.
Okay, so this is the NOI plan. We can see here the snow storage area, the mitigation area in this area related to the intrusion onto the 50-foot no disturb. There's a note here to install post and rail fence as it extends through the 50-foot no disturb zone. There's some details on the infiltration.
If you stay on that plan just for a second.
Sure, go
you
ahead.
See how there's a dark gray line that goes from Summer Street? There you go, on the wetland side. That dark gray line goes all the way up the driveway. That's the trench.
And the details of that trench are down here on the plans. Details of the construction entrance as well. So that's the NOI. The plan. I mean, our jurisdiction ends here. There is just some details about the second storage area. We have a snow storage area here, as well as down by the street. And this is a rough outlay of where the single family dwelling and the septic area is. I think we'll just condition that has to stay out of our jurisdiction. So, anything that they don't would have to. So, so that's that plan. The restoration plan, as we reviewed last time, this is a multi-story restoration as far as ground cover, mid-level and upper level replacement of what was disturbed. The details are on the right-hand side. Shrubs and saplings, as well as there's some BVW that was actually disturbed as well. This is details of the area that is proposed mitigation for their 50-foot buffer zone. And I think the numbers were going to be included on here. Do you recall what they are? So
it's an additional 2,200 square feet.
Yeah, 2,200 square feet. Right. So it's right here. It's on the plan. So from my standpoint, the other thing that's important here, the waiver requirement that's being requested here for working inside the 50-foot is the public interest portion of this. First of all, the waiver requirement alternatives, I certainly don't think that there is an alternative that makes any more sense than where the driveway is. They're right up against the lot line here. Anywhere else, they'd actually be going through the wetlands themselves, and as well as through the intermittent stream, getting closer and closer to that. I think also the public interest is being met here through a conservation restriction on 9 acres, about 9 acres of land that's also adjacent to the 4 acres from 38 Randall Street, and which was a sister of this project. So I think that from my standpoint, the waiver requirements are being met related to this project. And so from my standpoint, I think once we get this conditions Andrea's put together, I think last time we had sort of just talked through a bunch of the conditions that we wanted. Andrea's done a good job of putting that together and making sure that we condition this properly to ensure that this project is as least impactful as possible. Any questions from anybody? Any comments? We're really in deliberations here, so. Is it no comments? We're ready to vote? You're on mute. Yep. Oh, just before we, okay, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Carol.
Thank you, Rory. I have a few things I'd like to bring up. One is I'd like to, maybe it would help if I could share my screen so I can show my concern about something. Let's see. Zoom, where are you now? All right, share screen. Losing my cursor. Okay. There you are. Says I'm sharing my screen.
We can see it.
I see a Mr. Live demo rather than the plan.
No, we're seeing whatever. It's a screenshot from, looks like from something on a plan on a screen. That was a PDF of the plan.
Oh, that's funny. I don't have that on my screen. So I will just go to it. But that keeps me from pointing to it during this meeting. Okay, so that's the restoration plan. The one I want to.
That's the NOI plan is what's up right now. A portion of it.
Interesting. That's not what I'm seeing. Having a really fun technology week, aren't we? Okay, well, Rory, maybe I can use your screen.
I can
stop sharing.
I can bring it up if you want.
Thank you.
So do you want the restoration plan or the NOI plan?
The NOI, please.
So
yep. Keep going to the south.
Yep.
Yep, and enlarge that quite a bit, please. And scroll back to the south. Terrific. Thank you. I can't see this. See where there's kind of a bulb of the red 50-foot that pushes out to the right and gets very close to the driveway.
Yep.
So near the closest points, there's a elevation mark of 154 and 152 right on the driveway.
Yeah, that's right here.
Yes, thank you. So I noticed that those two are pretty close together, and they're not exactly on the same angle to the driveway, but they're very similar. So my concern at that point is that stormwater will be racing down the driveway, and I can't really tell where.
I'm actually trying to see the scale, just so because I'm trying to. So the 154 is here on the driveway, 152 here.
Correct.
And it comes off to 150 on the side of the driveway here.
Yep.
The scale is 40. And
right.
The distance between those two contours is 30 feet.
Okay, so 30 feet. So in 30 feet, the height is dropping 2 feet.
2 feet.
So my concern is that water is going to come gushing down that part of the driveway, and I don't see a lot of other elevation lines downhill of that. So it was flow down the driveway and kind of crash into the drainage ditch, and that would be an area that's at very high risk of erosion. The other parts of the driveway are flatter and I'm not so concerned, but at that point, especially since it's so close to the street, I don't see there, one thing about water management is it's about slowing down water and it's redirecting it.
On the detail on the next page, you'll see that it's tipped a little bit. You see that grade, you see that slope? It's tipped a little bit to the edge where the drench is. And the road is at 151. So you can address this. We can't speak to the engineer. I'm not an engineer, but we can address this by ensuring that the no runoff come onto the street, and that this is, I think this is sized correctly because he does put his drainage information in here. So if there's something you need to condition, if you can articulate it, I can certainly put it into a condition.
Well, I mean, there's a couple things here. One is, I'm not quite sure that 2 feet over 30 feet is really as steep a slope as what's being characterized here. I mean, it is. I mean, that's a 15-to-1 slope. So, I mean, I'm not quite sure that's really something that can't be handled by that trench. And so I think that's if the trench is sized properly, then we probably are okay here. I mean, I'm not opposed to saying that is the concern about water. Your concern is about erosion on the side of the roadway?
Right. I'm concerned about the speed that water is going to build over that distance.
So, but we have an infiltration trench that's been designed to handle that. It's not going off the edge of the roadway. It's going into an infiltration trench.
Real quick, do we have a distance between the infiltration fence and the actual pitch? Do we know what that is?
Yeah, we do. It's on the
Is it?
It's on the second page detail. It's pretty much up against.
Yeah, I mean, it's abutting the driveway.
Oh, 12. Okay.
Mm-hmm. It's a 2 foot wide by 2 foot deep.
That's a 2% pitch. That's more than sufficient.
Right.
I don't think Carol's worried about the side pitch as much as she is about the lengthwise pitch of the driveway.
Right. But that's right, Lori. So I did the math. So 2 feet rise over a 30-foot run is the same as 1 over 15, and that's a 6% slope for that distance. So
I know, but that's what I'm saying is 6% slope, I think, is probably being adequately handled by this infiltration trench. This isn't a 15% or 20% slope that we'd expect some, pretty severe acceleration of the water. I don't think. I mean, my own thought is that I don't believe that the infiltration trench is going to be overrun, but I'm happy to condition it that the infiltration trench has to be, someone must certify that it is handling the runoff of the water. I mean, once it's built. I mean, so that the engineer is going to have to certify this. So we can condition it that the infiltration trench must handle the water that is being runoff of the driveway.
right. So how do we do that specifically enough that the water that's running almost straight down the driveway rather than kind of sideways across the road, but down the road?
The infiltration trench shall not be overtopped. The water entering the infiltration trench, it shall be properly sized to handle the water of the 7-inch storm.
Right. The water and the speed of the water.
speed does not really, its volume is volume. So it has, but yes, we can put volume, we can put speed in if you'd like.
Right.
In a 12-foot wide driveway with a 2% pitch laterally, you're gonna get a lot faster motion going to the left, even though there's only a 2% and you are going down that driveway. That is more than sufficient.
Right. Oh, sorry.
I built many of these.
Okay, it's just, yeah, okay, good. That's the speed sounds good. I mean, what we don't want happening is water coming into the ditch at an angle and splashing up and going all over.
That can't happen.
Properly sized to accommodate.
Have you seen a river flood?
You get 3/4 to 1 inch crushed stone in there, which is pretty big stone. You'd have to have a tidal wave for that to splash over.
Well, on a 6% road in a big storm, I'm concerned. Over time, the part of it, the concern is cumulative impacts.
But so the issue here though is that going to be substantially different than what we'd see in a 7-inch storm to the resource, even if the road wasn't there. I mean, it isn't like the rain isn't going to hit the ground anyway. So, I mean, I don't think there's going to be a substantial difference, especially since we have the infiltration trench, which
Right.
even if the infiltration trench was handling 90% of what the water was coming in and 10% was splashing over, I don't think that's a significant negative impact to the resource area.
Right.
And I'm not even giving any credence that 10% is splashing over. I'm simply saying that the engineer has designed this to handle the runoff of this road, and I believe that.
I mean, that's I mean, it's a good thing, but that's way over designed, but it's a good thing.
So I'm happy to condition that it has to be able to handle substantial rainfall and prevent any overtopping or erosion. I'm happy to say that, and then when we go to issue a certificate of compliance, if they're not in compliance, we can deny that until they get it right.
Great. That sounds good. Thank you. Couple other things. Earlier on in this project, we were speaking with Cameron, and I asked him something like, for the benefit of the public's understanding more about the impact of the damage that was done with the clearing, I asked Cameron to provide us information on the dollar economic value of the loss of ecosystem services from that damage. And I believe we have not gotten that information. And
yep. Okay.
and failure to provide information asked for is cause for denial.
I would counter that I don't believe that information is pertinent to the application at hand, and I can make the decision without having that information.
So, okay, so I guess
so if the applicant chose not to provide the information and at your request, but the application otherwise stands on its own, I don't believe we can deny it just because they didn't provide the information.
Okay, I'm not following here. I think that the public lost some value in the ecosystem services there, and I think the public should know what that cost. And
the public lost in what we've required the applicant to do is restore that particular disturbance, and so that is being restored. I don't need a dollar amount in order to make that evaluation. What would the dollar amount do for me as far as the notice of intent and restoration?
Can I ask you, Carol, what price could we even put on that? I don't even know how we would. Is there a way to value that loss dollar-wise?
Oh, yes. There are people,
I don't even know.
Yeah, people do this.
What's the running rate?
Sorry, I'm not watching the video, so I can't see when you're pausing. Yes, people do this for a living, Mike. There's a bunch of apps out there. There are scientists who, specialize in this. And yeah, it's of course the applicant is restoring everything, but there is an economic value to all the trees that were pushed over. there's evapotranspiration that's not going to happen until to the same extent that was happening before the trees were pushed over. You know,
The reason you're not familiar with it, Michael, is because it's not in the regulations.
Oh, okay.
The dollar value is irrelevant. The applicant is going to have to spend whatever it takes to replicate in accordance with that plan. It could be $1, it could be $1 million. It's an irrelevant factor. He has to do what he's showing on the plan.
agreed. And, you know, if we get in a situation, I'm not saying it would happen here, but, you know, some big trees soak up, you know, something like 15,000 gallons of water every year through their roots. And, you know, I don't think anybody wants that in their basement because the trees are missing.
Yeah, I'm simply saying that I'm prepared to vote on this without having the dollar value of the impact of the disturbed areas that are being restored.
Right. Okay. So I guess my question is, if how does it work with a commission or commissioners asking for more information from applicants? I mean, I, as a single commissioner, asked for more information about that. It wasn't provided. You know, in reading the regulations, I read that as a cause for denial. So how does that?
So you can deny. You are one commissioner.
Okay.
So I mean, we as other commissioners look at the permit application and can decide whether or not there is enough information for us to make a decision on that. I mean, like if he didn't provide a plan for the restoration and he just simply gave us a narrative that said, I'm going to restore it, we could deny for lack of information because he didn't provide enough detail. I would support that. I don't support denying an application because he did not provide a request to put an economic value on the disturbance. I don't need that information to make the decision.
Okay. Understood.
I mean, it would be there are things that I think that in general the applicant has to decide whether or not he wants to present that information. It's his choice, right? Whether to present the information or not, and then it's our decision whether or not we have enough information to make the decision, and then we have to make that decision. You know, we vote on it. That's why we're here. So I believe we have enough information. The applicant has actually provided us with the information that was requested, short of the economic value that you had asked them to assign to the disturbance. I believe they've provided everything else we asked for. Anything else? Mike or Charlie, anything?
I'm all set with you, or I'm ready to vote.
All set, Rory.
Okay, so somebody may go through this. Andrea, you want to provide us any comments from your staff report? I believe it's all been. We probably went over everything here.
In the staff report it's page 6 of your packet, paragraph number 16, I believe I grabbed all of the conditions that you wanted from the previous discussions. The professional scientist shall oversee the planting and perform the regular monitoring as identified in the plan, with the following clarifications. Planting shall be done as an early action item. And I asked the board what that would be. One suggestion would be prior to requesting a building permit for the project site. The monitoring shall continue for 3 years or until 75% of the plants are successful at the mid and upper stories and 100% cover at the ground level. Wood debris shall be chipped and spread to a depth of 6 inches on the project site. That was that was from the discussion last meeting about not moving the energy of the trees off site, but the piles of debris are pretty large. So I put a cap on how much wood chips to put on the property. You all have this in your meeting packet. You don't need me to.
Yeah, I can summarize. I mean, so the one thing we have to do is just, when do we expect the planting to be done? We can decide that, and we can have a little conversation about that if we're all in agreement.
And the same thing is true of the conservation restriction. That's item F, that submitted and approved for town council as an early action item. And again, decide what you consider. I used before requesting the building permit for the project site, and then diligently pursue with no certificate of occupancy until proof of the CR recording is submitted to the Concom office. So it's an early action, and you have to stay with it. Those are the only items. I think the perpetual conditions of sustainable lawn practice, no dumping in the wetlands, no road salts, maintenance of the infiltration, and the storm disposal areas. And how, as Rory said before, the house and septic are not proposed nor authorized within 100 feet of any wetland resource area.
So does anybody have an objection to requiring that the planting be done and the CR be given to town council for review prior to requesting a building permit?
I don't.
Okay. I think the only other condition that we'll do this once we make a motion here is to just make a condition about the infiltration trench being sized properly to prevent any overtopping or erosion. So just to get us so that if we get to the point where 2 years from now, when they come for a COC and we see that isn't handling what it is, they'll have to take care of that. Okay. I mean, I think
get into calculations, Rory, but if you take the surface area in square feet and take the cubic feet of that trench, that would handle a highway.
I entirely agree that it's properly sized. So I'm simply trying to address Commissioner Lundin's concern that she raised. So I think it's an easy condition for them to meet. So I really don't have a problem. Any other questions?
I have one, Rory.
Yeah.
I have a question about the conservation restriction. That is on unbuildable land, is that right?
I would say that they would need a permit to build on that land. So yes, I mean, it would be a challenging situation for them to build on that land.
Right. So what I'm wondering is for a waiver, the public benefit has to be an overriding public benefit. So if the land that they are willing to put under a restriction is not buildable, how is that a benefit?
Okay, so a conservation restriction is, you want to go, Andrea?
No, you go right ahead.
So conservation restriction is permanent. Okay, that means this land will be deeded into a conservation restriction forever. Okay, so no matter what happens to this land in the future, whether the resource areas change or whatnot, but it is protected under conservation restriction for the use of the wildlife and wetland resources along those ways. I can't imagine something being less in the public interest than putting a conservation restriction on 9 acres of land, plus it's 4 acres on the other property, which is now contiguous to property across the street that is our property conservation land. So we've got a corridor now from Clifford Grant all the way down to Metacomet now, as far as that's concerned. So I really would find it hard pressed to not think this is a public interest.
I just would like to add one thing, and that's Carol, you have the benefit of living in Easton, where the local bylaw says 50-foot no disturb zone. But you can, a person can ask to work in that area, and a future commission can grant a waiver. It can happen. You can't tell someone they can't unless you put a permanent deed restriction on it.
Right, thank you.
Anything else? I make a motion to issue a permit for work and order conditions, noting that the waiver requirements have been met for 91 Summer Street. Noting the conditions in the staff report, please note on item A that the planting should be done as an early action item prior to requesting a building permit for the project site. Also in item F, draft language for this conservation restriction shall be submitted and approved by town council as an early action item prior to requesting a building permit for the project site. Additional condition not noted in the staff report, the infiltration trench should be sized properly to prevent overtop or erosion, and this must be certified by an engineer.
Halo, second.
Roll call vote. Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Halo, aye.
Spady, aye.
Okay. We're all set here on this one. So thank you. And I know the applicant's probably in the way.
Raise their hand.
That's Eric Diaz.
Okay.
I can't bring him up. I'm not a host.
I got it.
No.
Eric, you're on the panelist now. So.
Hey guys. I actually just hit the hand raise by accident, but while I'm here, I'll say thank you to everybody.
Okay. Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Right.
Okay. So next on the agenda is, I think, I don't know. So the minutes were in the thing, but it's not on the agenda, so we'll bypass that for now. So there was one other issue that we wanted to talk about that just came up, was that there was a request for reduced fees for an ANRAD application that is coming into us up on Washington Street. What I don't recall the address, Andrea.
It's Langwater Farm.
Right.
They've submitted an application. It's got 1,500 linear feet of BVW and intermittent stream boundary. The local bylaw would require a $3,000 application fee. The ANRAD caps the application fee at $400 for a residential structure, which often is frankly not. That can sometimes hurt us in the sense that it may sometimes is not enough. But in this case, I'm not expecting any peer review, and we have the town fee from the state. The town's portion of the state fee will be $1,000. So Langwater has requested that the local fee be reduced. I recommend you could reduce it to $400 in this particular case if you so chose. We would still have $1,400 to cover our expenses.
So so the reduced fees in the reduced fee language in the regulations is related to organizations with a like.
Yes, if I can jump in, Rory was on the board when the commission created a reduced fee for nonprofits who were following a similar mission, agricultural uses that needed to file, because most agricultural uses, existing agricultural uses don't, but new ones do. And citizens, residents who are on fixed income relative to tax reduction eligibility at the assessor's office. So that agricultural exemption is the exemption, or that is the reduction I'm speaking of. We didn't put it into the ANRAD. We only put it into the RDA and the notice of intent because we anticipated case by case. Some of us anticipated case by case review of ANRADs. Sometimes they can be pretty long and we need peer review and we need to be able to cover it.
So here's my little bit of a conundrum on this, Andrea. And so first of all, I believe that this is in the spirit of and that's why I wanted to point out that it's in the spirit of the regulatory change we made several years ago to allow us to have this latitude to have a reduced fee. And I trust 100% that you're capable of reviewing this. Are you going to get it reviewed before you leave us?
I am, because I've already been out on the site with the and I've read the report from the professional that they hired.
I have no hesitation doing this if you're gonna do it. It's a wild card after you leave, so.
I appreciate that May 24th is has a long agenda. I'm not anticipating peer review for this. I'm anticipating being able to get out there. I've already been out there.
Okay, so anybody have any questions about this? I'm okay with this. It meets the spirit of the regulatory exemption for this. So I make a motion to decrease the ANRAD fee for the Langwater Farm proposal to $400.
Melo, second.
Roll call vote. Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Melo, aye.
Beatty, aye.
Okay, I think that's it. Anything else tonight we missed?
We do have training coming up for invasive species monitoring with the Nature Conservancy is coming out for 1 or 2 hours a field visit during the week over the next couple weeks. A few of you had identified an interest in being part of that citizen invasive species monitoring. If anybody would like to be put on the email looking for appropriate dates, raise your hand. Hey, more than anticipated. Thank you very much. That's it for me.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Seconded by Lundin. Roll call vote. Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Melo, aye.
Beatty, aye.
Okay. Mike, it was good to see you.
Yeah. Hey guys.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Surprise. You guys
Okay.
get your air.
We'll see you guys later. See ya.
Later.
Hey,
Night.
Ben, oh, okay.